Welcome to the FMP Essentials Show. I am Dr. Yousef Elyaman, your host, and I am thrilled to have you here with us. Whether you're a seasoned functional medicine practitioner or just starting out on your journey, this show is going to be a go-to resource for mastering functional medicine and making a real impact in your practice and community. Thank you for joining us on the FMP Essentials Show.
Disclaimer, the content of this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult a licensed healthcare provider before making changes to your health regimen. Views expressed by guests are their own and do not reflect those of the host or producers. No statements about supplements or products are evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, or prevent any disease. Listening does not establish a doctor-patient relationship. By continuing, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer.
Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the FMP Essentials Show. Today we have a very special episode. We're going to be talking about something that I think is just not talked about enough, and you'll see what we're talking about in a bit. I have an expert in the field, Adam Lamb. Adam, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me here, Doc. Glad to be here. Glad to share some wisdom and experience with your listeners and following, and hopefully to provide a ton of value.
Oh, I'm sure it will. So, Adam, can you give me your 76-second bio?
Yeah, I've loved health and wellness my entire life. I had some personal issues in my early 20s that were not mainstream medicine solved, and it really frustrated me, and it was super hard for me to find help for people that actually understood what I needed. Finally found some physicians around my mid-20s that could help. I also realized there's lots of other people that had these potential issues too that weren't mainstream. And I started a business, a nationwide telemedicine company in 2012, helping with health and hormone optimization, and launched that in 2012 and been building healthcare companies ever since. What uniquely happened when COVID hit, I had a lot of physicians on the platform in kind of that functional health space that you guys, you're not taught that stuff in medical school, but they worked with our team to help solve some of their personal stuff. But these guys had businesses that were affected by COVID and they couldn't see their patients. And so they were reaching out to me. They're like, hey, you're the telemedicine guy. Can you help us, all different specialties, help them optimize their business? And coming in, I realized there's a lot of business deficiencies that you guys also aren't taught in medical school. And so I started consulting for docs back in 2020, as well as running these businesses and advising on some other kind of larger telehealth platforms. And that kind of transitioned to a coaching consulting thing too, because realizing there was some personal stuff that maybe affected them into their growth, whether it's fear or uncertainty or some of those things. And so it's just to have a passion to help who actually is helping everybody else. But it seems like too often people ignore the fact that doctors are people and people need some help and guidance as well.
Yeah, right. Very well said. And I do think a lot of times a lot is put on the practitioner, on the physician, the nurse practitioner, the PA, that healthcare practitioner. There's so much weight put on them, and a lot of times they are really not equipped for that. They are just expected to just do it and figure it out. So on the show, we have the podcast structured around the functional medicine tree. So we think of the functional medicine practitioner as a tree. And if you look at the trunk of the tree really holds the tree up, holds the practitioner up. Our motto is success through mastery of functional medicine. And the trunk here would be knowledge. So going into our knowledge deep dive, Adam, we could have talked about many things. Like you're a coach, you help with starting companies and business, but you wanted to talk about clinician burnout. So tell me, why is clinician burnout important? Why did you want this to be one of the things that you led with?
Yeah, thank you. And the simple answer to that is that no matter what you're dealing with as a physician or a clinician, there's another way. There's a better way. And in fact, there's a way to do exactly whatever it is you want. Right? You can do whatever you want. And I think too often what I found is with the physicians I've worked with, there's this path that you have to follow to go through to get your medical license and get out there. But the path to actually do what you want to do, like, you're living what you want to do. You could be doing something else that's more mainstream, right? And so whatever you want to do is out there. And the earning potential is high too. It's just, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to become a marketer? Are you willing to understand sales and leading people down a path of good health? Are you, willing to create content and build a personal brand that drives traffic, like become a light for something that you're super on fire for? So there's always a way to do it. And I feel like sometimes physicians get burned out, just like anyone can get burned out in a marriage, right? Like, but I guarantee if you're willing to put the work into it and you're willing to like see things differently and change your perspective, get a little uncomfortable, that you can have everything that you want. And so I've been able to help doctors do that for the last, few years, with just major breakthrough from burnout to breakthrough and transitioning that mindset of, stuck and this is how it is. And I have to follow all these rules and do everything else. And because there's a lot of docs too are like, well, my friends might think I'm crazy for going cash only and going functional. Who cares? Because there's a boatload of clients that need your help. And if you're excited to go and passionate to pursue helping them, you're going to win. Right. And so I think that's one of the biggest parts, is helping them see there's an opportunity outside of burnout to go help more people if it's something they're passionate about pursuing outside of what they're burned out in today.
Right. And cash only is only an example. Like some of us still take insurance, some of us don't, some of us, but like, I think you're talking about the different paths that you can take.
Lots of different paths. I mean, I've had orthopedic surgeons I've helped leave orthopedic surgery, start a company talking about bone health, build a 6-figure following on YouTube, and building a telehealth company selling stuff that he loved doing, creating content. Like this guy now he's like a full-time content creator. He's got a medical team making way more money as an orthopedic surgeon with a massive work-life balance, right? So it's like there's an option for it. It's just getting around the right person and people or group or doctors that can help open up your eyes to see what is possible. And that allows, when you're excited and you're fired up to do something, you don't get burned out, right? When you're having fun and you're building something that you love, you don't get tired. You're having fun, right? But when you go into work every day and it seems like, man, this kind of sucks and I don't really see a way outside of this, and I don't know, reimbursements keep getting lower and my family seems more disconnected, and like you get burned out, right? And so I like to come in and help them see what's possible and help create a path to do that. That's something I really got passionate about, to help the doctors.
And I think it's kind of interesting, like they come to you, then they're probably thinking they're getting business help, and then you kind of reflect and you go right to them. Like you go right and to their personal health. And I know you and I have had multiple conversations kind of on that approach, kind of giving them they come to you for what they want, and then you kind of help them, give them what they need. Now, from that aspect, you've worked with tons of physicians. Mm-hmm. How common do you believe burnout is?
I think it's common. There's two situations. I think, and this is just humanity. Some people are okay with just status quo, right? There's some physicians that, like, are they happy? They're like, I don't know, I'm a doctor, and do you have a decent income? Like they're just grateful. They're making a few $100,000 a year, and they're just like, it's fine, right? They're okay. But then there's those other physicians, I think, that know there's more out there for them. They're reading, they're learning stuff. They're like, man, this looks interesting. This looks cool. And the more you start looking at, the grass on the other side, it starts feeling like that's when the burnout starts setting in, I think. Or you're just working way too hard. You're not focused on trying to create balance in your health, your family, and then you're going to feel the effects of that burnout too. And so, we're all people, right? And that's the part I think so many society forgets, is like, physicians are people. They're humans. They have the same problems, the same bad days. We all have to deal with all those things. And I just think it's it sounds silly, but I think it's a forgotten part of society of like that, doctors are humans and they have certain needs and all the same stuff that anybody else does. But rarely is anyone coming out to help them, because they assume, and most people assume like, doctor, you guys are smart, you got it all figured out. But it's like, yeah, you're still just people, right? People, no one has it all figured out.
So you're saying I'm not just a regular person? So no, I really like that. I have a question. So dealing with practitioners and particularly with physicians, a lot of times we don't even know we're headed in that direction. We don't know. We just think, hey, we like it. We're working hard. We enjoy it, right? So we don't even feel like burnout is even happening. Like we can't see it in front of us. So how do you help physicians recognize that the burnout is happening before it becomes overwhelming for them?
Great question. And this will be something everybody listen to this. We will tell ourselves we're liars. In our human nature, we are liars. We will tell ourselves we're eating pretty good. We'll tell ourselves our marriage is pretty good. We'll tell ourselves business is pretty good. We're just conditioned to like, how's everything going? Everything's okay, right? And so the goal for me is I'm coming into this frame. I believe everybody lives in this frame of my beliefs, my habits, my rules, and my stories, right? So when I'm going in and I'm saying, hey, how's business? Business is good. Cool. How much money are you making? Right? Oh, we're doing, but like, how much is your actual, like breaking it down? Like how much money are you putting in your bank? Are you able to save? Like, are you worried about not being able to save enough? Like, I want to find out where their insecurities are or what they're like when we get into the deep part of it. And that's part of the coaching piece. As a consultant, I haven't really get permission to go deep into those things. Right. And so, but as a coach, it opens the door a little bit more for me to come in on the coaching consulting side to just help them get honest and say, hey, look, your bills are this. Here's what you're doing. I know and you're working 50 hours a week. Like, when's the last time you and your wife went on a date? Like, just you two had fun, like laughed. Like, I don't remember. When's the last time, like you start looking at these things, which is like, that's the actual truth. And so then in those moments, I'm able to let them see, I'm kind of mirroring back to them. They're like, holy crap, I'm heading off a cliff. I'm like, yeah, you are. Let's turn it around. Let's figure out what we have to do. Because otherwise we'll ignore it, right? We like to put our head in the sand and keep telling ourselves the same story. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. But we need someone to help us come in and just say, define okay. Let's look at the details.
Right. So it's kind of like you're putting a magnifying glass and you're letting them look at, or a mirror, and letting them see the different aspects. So what aspects do you focus? So you have a new coaching client. What aspects are you going to start on? Like, what are you analyzing? So you're going to look at, you mentioned that you look at their business financials, right?
Yeah. So I have a whole kind of a program that I go through with everything. And like you said earlier, most people, they're hiring me, they want to win more financially, right?
Correct.
Here's the truth. If I can help you win more financially, let's say if I can help you add an extra 20 grand a month to your revenue, and maybe it's 50% profit or something like that, you're going to also feel more confident. You're going to be more bought into like, wow, Adam got me to do this. What else can Adam get me to do? You're more likely to open up to some of the things that are maybe more on the personal side, whether it's your personal health, or relationships, work-life balance. So some of those things start opening up as I've helped you succeed on the financial side. So I have a framework. It's production, profit, protection. Okay.
Okay.
I'll list out some of these things for people just to listen to see what might resonate. And what I'm doing initially is through I ask a ton of questions, man. I want to go through like you just, I just gave you an example of how just diving quickly. I want to ask so many questions because we don't ask ourselves enough tough questions because we don't really want to be challenged and we don't want to be exposed. And most people, we definitely don't want to be exposed to a stranger. So usually people that work with me are like saying, hey man, like I'm just ready for a breakthrough. I'm ready for change, whatever it takes. I'm willing to get naked, metaphorically speaking, and like, let's go. Right. So in the production category, we talk about marketing, advertising, funnels, sales, fulfillment, automation, acquisition. Okay. So those are like kind of the topics. And then we break those things down of like, what are they doing? Does that exist? And then going into the profit category, the first one is optics, which is huge. And then people, processes, systems, SOPs, teams, and then reoccurring revenue. And then finally, the protection side is making sure things are buttoned up, legal, compliance, accounting, taxes. What's our cash look like? What's our cash flow? Like I mentioned earlier in the example, and then what's our overhead? And so what I'm doing when I'm kind of interviewing a doc at the beginning, I'm going through this stuff and I'm asking them not directly like I just went through this list, but this list exists in my head. And I'm starting to prioritize what I think the problem is. Because they might say, Adam, I need more patients. And I'm like, you work 50 hours a week, your schedule is totally booked. Like it doesn't work, right? There's certain times we think we need something, but we're not prepared for the solution, right? So we have to get whether it's like we have to put some technology in place, we have to hire another team member, we have to adjust pricing, we have to start figuring out what the actual solution is for them. And that just requires a deep dive into it. Here's the deal. I've owned and built medical practices before, right? Owned them, brick and mortar, telehealth, sold them. I've been there, done that, and I'm not the doctor, right? So like I know how to position it to where I need the doctor to do the least amount of work so we can leverage team and systems and processes and delegate so that they can like breathe and focus on scaling the business and also really taking better care of people. Because when you're burned out, you kind of suck. When you're not burned out and you're excited, you give great care, right?
So you focus on the business and you help give them kind of a path, like a framework. You have them look at, you have certain things that they're looking at. You kind of help them with burnout in that regard because you're helping them set systems in place. I'm interested also in how do you get to their personal wellness? Like how do you talked about dates, right? Are they dating if they're married or if they're not married, right? So tell me, so the business, we actually have a business section we're going to go over for our more private members that are in our power room. But apart from that, now can we talk about let's talk about the other aspects of burnout. So business is one, let's put it aside. What else we got?
Yeah. And here's the reason we start with business too, is people are a little more likely to share. Right. And so I can also, listen, you can learn a lot about someone by just asking them questions. Do they answer your question straight? Does every question have a story? Right. So I've been trained to kind of I'm not listening to what you say as much as how you say it and what you're saying and all those kind of things. Right. So the business side is showing me your habits and behaviors of communication so that I know a little bit better how to navigate the personal stuff, because that's also that we're a little more standoffish, right? Of if I was like, hey, how much money did you do last month versus how often are you and your wife having sex? Like that changes everything, right? It could be super uncomfortable. So in that's the most important question. But as we unpack certain things, we just want to find out, like you talking, from a marriage standpoint, like, how much are you and your wife hanging out? Like, are you guys having fun? Like, tell me about when you first met. Like, I want to learn these things because they might feel like, man, they've grown apart. Works kind of, works the battlefield. But if I go home and like, I don't feel connected with my spouse anymore, my kids are not really paying too much attention. Home's not even a place of joy anymore. And so that's when you have problems with like, whether it gets into, vices or some other escape. Right. And so I want to find out, are there any of those vices? Are we on the verge of those vices? Because we got to turn that stuff around quick. But I want to find out like what really brings them joy. What makes them really happy. And then the other part, we're going to talk about movement, health. Like, so tell me, do you have a morning routine? What's that look like? Do you work out? Did you used to work out? Why don't you work out? If you look at yourself today, do you feel empowered? And we're going to talk about that because energy that cascades, right? So like if you're health and wellness, like you feel strong and I'm fired, proud, confident, you will perform better at work. You're going to carry yourself and lead better at home, and all these other things. So we start addressing these, and the goal is to kind of get to drop their guard to where they can say, hey, yeah, you know what, man, I would love to do a little bit more with my wife, or we have been slacking on the date nights, haven't done that in a while, and then just start, hey, what would that look like? Like, hey, she really loves a sushi restaurant, and then it's like, well, hey, why don't you just call her and say, hey, Saturday night we're going to sushi. Sound good? Cool. And then like maybe book, and all of a sudden they just start taking this little action. Or it's not hard. If I was like, hey, book a date night with your wife for next day, I can do that. And then you start creating these habits, and we're like, hey, we're going to put it in your calendar. We're going to do this. And then we get into the gym's conversation, right? So we might talk about, hey, when do you work out? Yeah, I go to the gym sometimes. When's the last time you went? 2 weeks ago. All right, you don't go, so you're not good. We need to build that, then we just start getting calendar stuff organized, because my date night's on my calendar, my kids' events are on my calendar, my personal time that I spend time creating content and writing and stuff like that's on my calendar. All those things have to be on there. So helping them get organized, and that relieves a burden too of stress and anxiety and feeling like we're not doing what we think of how many times we're like, oh, I feel like I'm just not getting it all done. Well, we can create some systems in that personally and also professionally to allow you to do that. And then you don't feel as the weight, right? The goal is, it's like going to the gym. 25 pounds day one might be heavy, but day 180, 25 pounds might be the warm up, right? It's because the weight's not really going to change if you're trying to be a high achiever. It's just how strong you are and how we manage and balance that weight strategically really, really is important. And that's probably the key takeaway of how to avoid burnout.
You know, it's interesting. I remember years ago when I was just starting my practice, just starting out, I had an opportunity to like upgrade to that business class for $50. It was one of those empty flights. So I'm like, heck yeah, I did it. And was going to my brother's graduation. He was graduating med school. And I got on a plane. The guy I sat next to was someone who was always like a boss of maybe 10, 12 people. And now he's like in charge of thousands of people. And I asked him, I'm always asking, because I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. Like if somebody else has a process that's figured out, let's do that, and maybe we can add to it. So when I asked him, like, I was trying to get some advice on how he did it. He's like, listen, my company, they sent me to it was a workshop or a retreat. And probably the biggest thing that I did is that I took my calendar and they made me take my calendar and look at all of my family events, like my kids' play and my wife date and, you know, things like that. And I made sure that that was in the calendar and it was scheduled in advance and it was sacred, because normally we just say, oh, I'm just going out with my wife, or I'm just going out with my husband, or it's, you know what, I'll come late. And he said, and I kind of stuck my ground with that. And I made sure the family things were taken care of and everything else kind of fell into play. And I thought that was kind of interesting because I was expecting some business leadership advice.
Well, because I think when you know, like in our hearts, right? Like my family is the most important thing. My relationship with my wife is the most important human. My kids are number two. And it's so like when you know that those relationships are secure and flourishing, there isn't an underlying concern about them not being. And it's same thing. Like, I mean, I do a one-on-one every year with my son, one-on-one every year with my daughter. All that stuff's on the calendar. We're going next week to Florida, little family vacation, just a little getaway. Like I said, date night every Thursday night. So this evening, my wife and we'll grab sushi tonight. It's just her and I, no kids, and we don't sit there and complain about crap. We just hang out like we're on a date, right? Talk. We might gossip a little bit about whatever, some work stuff, but it's never like a heavy conversation. It's always like fun. The goal is like we're dating, right? We want it to be fun and kind of refreshing. But putting all that stuff in the calendar first lets you know, like in your heart, that you are serving the most important stuff first. Because look, one day we're going to be on our deathbed, and no one's going to care how much money we made or what we built or you're going to care about how close your family was, right? And that kind of legacy. Right. And when we know that we're doing a good job there, it allows us to perform at a higher level at work. And also it gives us permission to, because many times people, my kids are like, hey guys, dad's grinding for the next couple of months. We're building something out, dude. Like they're cool because they know that we're going on this one vacation. I unplug on the weekends pretty good. All those kind of things. I'm not, I don't sit with my kids for 2 hours and on my phone. Like it's phone down, present, being intentional, just adjusting some of that behavior a little bit. Watching a movie with my daughter and just sitting there, not touching my phone, being into it, laughing, whatever it is. I think those little things of intentionality really help create that. And then when you know you're doing a great job, you're not worried about the inefficiencies and stuff like that. And that's where burnout comes from, is you just don't feel like you're doing enough, not good enough.
Right. And what are you working for anyway if your family life isn't like what's the purpose? Like you said. We're not taking it with us. I caught myself some time ago. Like I realized I was trying to do one-on-one with my kids, but I realized that all I had to talk to them about is, how are you doing in school? What are your goals? And it was very heavy stuff. And I realized what I was doing the opposite of what I intended to do. And I had to learn to just stop and just listen, and to not tell them what they need to do in their life, and just listen to them and just let them, depending on that stage, quit taking things so seriously. And I'm glad you kind of mentioned that. So when you're dealing with a practitioner, you talked about you help them optimize their finances, and you start to learn a lot about them based on the way they're answering questions and the way that they're interacting with you. And you start to kind of develop that relationship, and that gets you to the point of what gives you joy, and are you having moments of joy, and you can get into that family life with them, and and one-on-ones and whatnot. Is there any type of like testing that you have them do? Do you have them to go do a checkup? Do you have them do some sort of hormone? Like, do you have them do any type of testing, or is it kind of like a case by case thing?
That's a good question. It depends. I mean, if they don't do blood work regularly, we will usually recommend they go kind of do a pretty standard, CBC, CMP, kind of a full hormone suite just to see, depending on their age. Most of them are, most of the doctors I work with are in that 40 to 55 range, right? Like they're I would say 40 to 50 primarily, of like, they're not at the end, but they need to make a pivot if they want to have like a successful finish. And some, I can say some maybe mid-30s, but yeah, because that's huge. I mean, hormone optimization, having healthy optimal hormones is, you and I both know, is a massive thing. And nutrient deficiencies, all these kind of things too. So there might be some of that stuff if it comes up in our health conversation, to do that, to look at blood work and get those things done just to see. And I would say probably 50% of the clients I work with are on some sort of, hormone optimization and supplement protocol, and more clear about their nutrition. There's a plan. It's not default, right? There's some design into what they eat when they eat, because it's going to give them the energy to have the power they need to do the things they need to do. And at the end of the day, when you're consistently doing what you've committed to do, how do you feel? You feel good, right? And if you feel good, it's hard to burn out, right? But if we push ourselves too hard to be perfect, we'll reach burnout. So we try to create some flexibility in there too, with that. But yeah, blood work is, I get it done every 90 days.
So you'll encourage them, go get some blood work, see what your hormone levels are, see what's going to get you to that optimal level. So that for those of you at home, I encourage you, if you're a healthcare practitioner, if you're a functional medicine practitioner, or if you're somebody that's just interested in functional medicine, I would say, number one, I would say take a look at just think about your work and think about how happy you are at work, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the happiest. Just kind of give it a number. And then how happy are you? Are you doing things that bring you joy? How much joy would you say you have in your life? And then, because I'm a numbers guy, and then I would say for you guys, just now ask yourself with family, like how are my relationships? How's my relationship with myself? Do I feel good about myself? Higher power relationship. How's my relationship with my kids? And just maybe, hopefully, that just watching this, just at this point, will give you a chance to reflect and analyze and say, and see what direction you want to go with. So Adam, so let's say you have that person that's maybe just overworking, and but their business is solid, like they're killing it. Their business, they're doing amazing. And either he or she is, you realize that, and they realize that there's this deficit, the balance isn't there. What are your key strategies, your core strategies to helping them restore that balance?
Yeah, I think it's helping them get clear on what they want. Because one thing we're not really good at is getting clear what we want. I don't know what it is in our human condition. We sometimes struggle with it. We're pretty good at what we don't want. I don't know if you ever experienced it. Hey, where do you want to go to eat? I don't know. I don't want this. I don't want, right? Like we're good at coming up with lists we don't want. There's this internal commitment, because we know that once we say something that we want, there's a part of that commitment that's beginning, right? So if someone's like, I want to have more quarterly vacations with my family, like whatever it is, it's like, okay, then why aren't you? You have the money. It's like, now I got to take the time. Now I got to, but the real fear is like, I might have the fear of, if I'm not at the business is going to fail without me. And so it's like, then we have to actually go back into the business. We're like, okay, let's look at systems, processes, things like that. How can we create KPIs and things you can measure while you're gone? And like, how can we prove that you can do this? And so we start finding these things and find out that there is the part of the business, even though it looks like it's successful and awesome, there's actually a little sneaky handcuff at their ankle that's not allowing them to go do the trips that they feel guilty that they're not taking their family, right? So something like that. But I think it's really getting super clear on what you want. It's one of the most, I say comical, but entertaining things for me is to watch somebody stumble and dance around answering the question of what they actually want. And when you really, really do it with, I would say, someone like myself that's going to hold you accountable to following it within detail, you'll find that you might not even know what you want. And that in itself can create a feeling of restlessness and uncertainty and lack of satisfaction, right? Like if you're like, I'm hungry, but I don't know what I want, right? And you just kept eating bites of things and like, you're not satisfied, right? Versus, man, I want a steak, right? You're like, go get the steak. Okay, steak was good. And so most people don't know what they want. So I really peel back the onion on it to help them get clear of, hey, I want this. Tell me why you want it. How's this going to make you feel? Why haven't you got it yet? Like force them into the details of it to make sure it's what they actually want, or are they just saying something to fill a void, right? Because that's not going to satisfy them, and it's going to leave them feeling, lack of accomplishment and things like that.
Well, that was our foundation. Thank you very much, Adam. Guests, thank you for tuning in. So it's now time for that section where we spill those functional medicine organic beans. We talk about the stuff that you can't learn just looking at ChatGPT or going on AI. We're going to talk about that, the experience share, the real, the root of the tree. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back. To unlock additional premium content, including the deeper dive in this clinical topic, leadership and speaking tips, charting and efficiency pearls, and business mastery as a functional medicine practitioner champion, be sure to check out our mastermind and other membership programs at www.fmpessentials.com. Hey everyone, we hope you're enjoying the FMP Essentials Show so far. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Remember, if you're part of our mastermind, don't miss out on our exclusive bonus clinical content. That's where we take a deeper dive, look at personal experiences and real-world insights that you can't just get from a book or from looking on AI. It's where we really get into the nuances that make a difference in your practice, the experience of the guest of our show. Thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the show. So, looking at the functional medicine practitioner as a fruit-bearing tree, the fruit has seeds, and those seeds can be planted to make more trees. And for us, the seeds is really that legacy. It's given back. So taking a look at legacy as a functional medicine practitioner. Before that, I'd like to ask you a question. Adam, what projects are you working on or initiatives that you're just really excited about right now?
Yeah, I think, continually scaling the coaching company, the 1% Doctor is good. I have the 1% Doctor podcast. Looking forward to having you on there soon. But yeah, a few projects I just got involved on in the healthcare space that, some larger projects. I'm like thinking in my head contractually if I can list names, but good sized companies. I kind of started really the bigger part of my consulting career. Tony Robbins, you know who Tony is, asked me to help him launch Life Force. So I was a partner with Tony on Life Force, which spilled into kind of some of these larger like LifeMD publicly traded companies. So, and that's been like pretty cool for me of a guy. Again, remember I told you earlier, a lot of pain came from people telling me I couldn't do something, right? When I wanted to launch my telemedicine company, even people like my father-in-law, like, hey, you don't have you didn't go to business school, you don't know anything. They were like, you're not going to do this. And then fast forward, Tony Robbins asked me to come be his business partner and do some of these other things. It's great, right? So don't, part of that's like, just don't quit and keep learning, right? So I have a few really awesome opportunities, companies that I get to advise for that's really exciting for me. I think, that part of it, as it ties to the giving back, like I do a ton on the mentoring, like I have a little mastermind group and stuff like that. And just seeing these people like start businesses and like produce fruit from that stuff is super rewarding. So having a good balance of, some of these bigger business stuff, helping these kind of solo practice providers scale and just get a good grip on their business. And then also the other aspect of where I'm kind of giving back in the community stuff that I do. All of it, man. I don't feel like I work. I just feel like I just get to have fun and talk about the stuff I love talking about. So,
right. If you enjoy what you do, you don't have to work a day of your life, right?
I wholeheartedly want that for everybody because I didn't feel it was possible.
So how could practitioners, first of all, why is it important for them to give back? And second, how can they give back beyond just giving clinical care?
Yeah, it's a great question. We all have these human needs, and one of the most important ones that most people don't unlock is contribution, right? Being able to give back to other people. And so I found that in my career, like we talked about earlier, the financial stuff. I mean, I literally have I have one company I didn't really want to get into. I got asked to get into that. It just didn't. It's in the healthcare space, in wound care. I had a group reach out to me and said, "Hey, we want to create a kind of a mobile wound care company. We help us put together the tech and the systems and processes." I'm like, it's boring. Like, I like the health optimization and the peptides and all the cool, like the functional stuff. It wasn't as kind of sexy, for lack of a better term. But I was like, all right, I'll do that. But I helped build this company and created some really cool proprietary stuff that a lot of people are doing, and it's helping underserved people, because a lot of these people have, their wounds are on their feet, and they don't have cars, and they don't have money, and they're being neglected. And so now we have a way to reach them and have people that go out to them and take, so it's really cool, right? Something like that. But here's the deal. Here, I'll share this with you. When I started that business, I was like, whatever comes from it, I didn't want to do it. And I kind of made a deal with God. I was like, if you'll make this thing easy and smooth, then I'll stick with it. Otherwise, I probably won't want to. And whatever comes in, I'll donate 50%. And I still do to this day. It's a multi-six-figure business, and I don't have to do much work. I still just advise on it, but that comes in. But there's a part of that where I get to, you know how fun it is, man, to write a $50,000 check that changes someone's life. That's really awesome. And so like I said, growing up poor, single mom, secretary, I know what it's like to have checks bounce at a cash register, at a checkout at the grocery store, and not be able to bring food home. Right. I mean, I know the weight that my mom had to carry from that. And I know what it felt like as a kid to get made fun of because he had 2 pair of jeans and 3 shirts and had to wear stuff on repeat. I know that pain. And so when I can change that for somebody else, just take that away, that's powerful. And so I think, I get emotional talking about it. And so that's the part about the money that's important to me, and why I want docs. Man, if you're making $400,000 a year and your lifestyle is kind of matching it, there's not a lot left over. But if you're making $4 million a year and you don't need a $4 million lifestyle, and you can start feeding kids and doing cool stuff, what opens up beyond you is powerful, right? And so that's why for me, when teaching docs that there's more that can be given. And some docs I see that do cool stuff, to where, imagine your practice runs without you, and you can go on mission trips to different countries that are underserved and bring medicine, and have a blast. And maybe you take your family, and it's this cool experience that everybody gets to do. There's so much that can be done with contribution. And I think, again, it goes back to that, when we talked about the question of the practice, and it's figure out who you want to help, how you want to help them, and then figure out a play. And I think a lot of times people feel like they need to get out of the kind of business sector and go into the nonprofit sector. And I disagree, because I think if you can produce, if you're a good producer, produce and create, and then share that, where your heart is, right? And so that's something that's been super important to me. It's changed my life, and it just gives me a drive, right? When you can donate potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars to causes that you believe in, that are positive, that are changing lives, and I believe the flow of ease of doing the work actually gets easier. It's one thing, because how many doctors I work with, where it's there's another car is not going to make them happy, right? Another house, a 4th house, a lake house, it's not going to fix it. They're not going to be happy with it. And so it's helping them see a way that they can contribute in an area they never thought they could, financially and with their time. Game changer. I mean, it's wild to see, literally seeing some of these guys borderline retire because their practice is secure without them as much, because they've done the work on the business side, to go spend most of their time. That's what they talk about. That's all. They're oh man, we're doing this. They're not talking about the practice as much anymore. They're talking about this giving path that they decided to build out. And it's amazing. It's beautiful.
So how do people stay connected with you?
Yeah, I think there's two Instagram accounts. My personal one is Adam Lamb, ADAMLAMB 33. And then I also have 1% Doctors at 1% Doctors on Instagram. That's probably the best place. I'm on LinkedIn as well, Adam Lamb. I think it's Adam 33 there too. So yeah, follow me, send questions. Happy to connect and engage with anybody. If you're a doc out there looking, just want to pick my brain, reach out. I'm happy to give anybody 30 minutes of my time. And if I can solve a massive problem for you, that's awesome. That feels great. So happy to do it. Like I said, it doesn't feel like work. It's like hanging out with cool people, talking about the stuff I like to talk about. And if I can solve some problems and create strategy along the way, it's a blessing.
Awesome. Well, the most precious thing that we have, really the most valuable thing, is our time. And you have been very generous with your time. I thank you very much. And I look forward to continuing our relationship. And yes, I can't wait to be on your podcast.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to have it. And I look forward to continue the friendship as well. And you're an awesome guy. I love what you're doing. You're super smart, helping lots of people. So I'm excited for all the lives you get to impact.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Yousef Elyaman. We hope you enjoyed the show. For more exclusive content from this interview, check out our FMP Essentials Mastermind. Make sure you check out our website at www.fmpessentials.com for our blog and other content. If you enjoyed this show, please subscribe. Give us a like. It helps way more than you could imagine. Thank you for watching. Follow us across all social media platforms at FMP Essentials HQ. Please don't forget to share this with your practitioner friends, and we'll see you in the next episode.